Hey everyone, so today I'll show you how I made this mouse cursor motion using geometry nodes. I actually got the idea while scrolling through Instagram and I saw a post from SideFX Houdini and I thought let's try that in Blender, and here's how it turned out. So let's jump right in. Select the cube and the light and I'm just going to press delete. I'm going to come to my output for resolution. On the X I'm going to change it to 1080 and on the Y I'm going to change to 9020 to make it vertical. I'm going to come to my front view and I'm just going to press Control number pad 0 like so. Just bring the camera up, press Shift A. I'm going to add the plane RX90 and just going to press SZ2. We can come to the geometry nodes tab. I'm going to change this spreadsheet to the 3D viewport. So this will be for the camera view. GZ to move it down and just using my scroll wheel, I'm just dragging inwards like this. So we have a view of this. Nice. Then for the plane, we're going to be adding um an instance on point nodes to this, and then we're just going to instance the various emojis on it. So before we continue, let's create the emojis now. So it's very simple. We're just going to be using a cylinder. So Shift A, add a mesh cylinder, and just bring it here on the X. Press S to scale it down, and SZ to scale it on the Z axis. Then what we'll do is press Ctrl A to apply scale. Press tab to go to your edit mode now. Press 2 to come to your edge mode, and then just select this edge ring right here by pressing Shift Alt click. Select the one down to by pressing Shift Alt click, and then just press Ctrl B to apply bevel. Hold down Shift and then use your scroll wheel to increase the amount. Maybe like 8 segments is enough. Then I'm going to right click, shade auto smooth. So we have this now. Now what we can do is let's rename this as emoji. What we can now do is create different version of this by just simply duplicating. So I'm going to press Shift D and I'm just going to bring it here. Maybe I'll increase the scale on the Z axis, maybe reduce it down a bit. Then again select Shift DX, maybe scale it up on the Z axis like so, and then Shift DX again, scale it down on the Z axis like so. So this will serve as the various buttons that we instance with the emoji faces. If I click and select everything, I'm just going to press M, new collection, and I'm going to name this emoji. So this will be our instance collection. So I'll just press create. Okay, nice. So now if we go back to the plane, we can start adding nodes to this. First thing we'll do is just going to press new, and I'm going to press Shift A, add a distribute point on faces like this. So you can already see we now have points here. But to increase the number of points, what I'll do is I'll just going to press Shift A, and then I'm going to add a subdivide mesh and maybe put that level of 2 just to have more points. For the distribution method, we're still going to change it to Poisson disc, but for now, we don't need it. So let me just press Shift A, add an instance on points. Okay, so what I will do next is with this instance on point added now, what we'll do is we're going to press Shift A and we're going to add another instance to point node and just connect it here. We're going to add another instance on point. Press Shift A, collection info node, select the collection, which is the emoji collection, and I'm going to click separate children and reset children. So I'm just going to put this on the instance. So you can now see that we have this there. So I'm going to select pick instance. For the scale, what you can do is select everything, just press Ctrl A to apply scale, and then select this as well, press Ctrl A, apply scale. For the distribute points on faces, I'm going to change it to Poisson disc, and then for the density max, I'm going to use something like 10,000. Then for the distance minimum, we don't want them clipping together like so. I'm just going to change that to something like 0.12. All right, so doing that now, this is what we have. Then the scale is a little bit too much. I'm going to come to the scale and I'm just going to drag out like this and add a random value. So I'm going to use a float instead, and then I'm going to plug it here. And what we can do now is we can just increase and maybe decrease this. So let me see that. All right, so I think I'm happy with that scale. Maybe I'll increase this up a bit like so. Press Shift A to add another random value to the rotation. So we just want to have rotational movement. So for this one, we're going to be using a vector instead of float for the rotation, and then looking through the camera here so we can see maybe on the X Can randomize on the Y as well. Just randomize it on the Z. Then maybe you can play around with this value just to have different values that are not the same. All right, cool. Maybe for the scale random, yes, I'm going to reduce it a bit to something like this. So just play around till you have like what you want. So I think it's okay like this. Then you can change the seed as well. Nice, cool. So we have the emojis instance already on this. Now the next thing we need to do is have an object that it is going to control the movement, like the cursor like movement. All right, so how we're going to achieve that cursor movement is just simply using a plane and then using a cursor logo, applying a cursor logo on it. Press Shift A. I'm going to add the plane. I'm going to rotate it by 90 degrees on the x-axis, and then I'm just going to scale it inwards like this. So this will serve as the cursor object, like so. So just scale it. We're going to use this plane to affect the translation of these instances. Anywhere the plane goes to, the instances move away. I'm going to select the instance object again, and then before this instance to point that we have here, we're going to press Shift A and we're going to add a translate instances node. I'm going to press Shift A. We're going to add an object info right here, and we're going to select the plane. So let me just rename this so that we don't confuse it to others. So I'm just going to press F2 and I'm just going to name this cursor. All right, cool. So with the object info node selected, I'm going to come here. I'm going to select the cursor object. Now make sure that it's relative that is enabled and not original. Next, I'm going to add a geometry proximity node and then just plug the geometry into this. Select the distance here and then just plug it to the translation. So by the time we do that, you can see that it's working, because if I select the cursor now and then just move it, you can see that the instances are following. However, they seem to be moving away from the cursor rather than shifting. So what we'll do is select the instance again, Shift a compare node, a math compare node, and you're going to change it from greater than to a less than value. So just increase this to something like 0.25 or 24. So now if I move the cursor, you can now see that, yeah, it's working perfectly. Now a way to step this up will simply to add Shift a vector math multiply, and putting it in between the compare and the translation. Now change this from add to multiply. Then for this lower input here, we're going to use a position node. So yeah, so now if we do this, if we select the cursor, you can see that the effect is even much better. So wherever it goes, it follows. So yeah, that's pretty much how the animation was made. We're just going to animate the cursor and give it live movement, but pretty much that was how the effect was achieved. If you want to leave right now, you can. Let's start adding materials. I'm just going to use my scroll wheel to just scroll here and come to viewport shading. Then I'm going to enable ray tracing, make sure that is enabled. With that done, let's add some lights to our scene. I'm just going to press Shift A and I'm going to add an area light. Press GZ and I'm just going to bring it here like so. And I'm going to change the size from square to rectangle, and I'm just going to select again and then just probably scale it like this, which is nice. Then maybe rotate it a bit like so. For the power, I'm going to use something like 20. Then for the word here, we want it to be completely dark. All right, nice. Then we're going to add another light. I'm just going to press Shift A, add an area light again to bring it somewhere around here. Now if you press Shift T with the light enabled, you can just move your cursor to wherever you want the light to shine. And again, I'm going to change it to square rectangle instead. So now I can just scale it on the x axis like so. Then for the power, I'm going to make this something like 80. All right, cool. Then if I select the camera, I'm just going to come to viewport display. I want the pass part out to be 1, so we are seeing just the light itself. All right, so I think I might just rotate it down and maybe increase the power to something like 100. Yeah, this is okay for now. Can now add materials to these instances. To do that, that is pretty much simple. What you can do is just come to like perhaps Gemini, for instance, and just give it this sort of a prompt to generate random emojis that you can use to apply. What I've just done is I use this prompt here to generate these images. I'm just going to go back here now, and the first thing we want to do is we want to give these emojis a UV unwrap. So I'm going to click and select all of them, and I'm just going to press tab to go into edit mode. Then make sure you are still in the top view, press U, and then you select project from view. Now if I just use my scroll wheel again and come to this window here, I'm going to change this from 3D viewports to UV editor, so you can see the UVs of these spheres here. Nice. So what I'll do is we're now going to add the image we generated. I'm just going to go to open, I'm going to go to downloads where I have the image, and then I'm just going to click open image. With that done, I'm going to quickly change this from the geometry nodes tab to the shader editor because we want the image to be applied. Actually, I think we might need one more extra window for the viewport display. So this will be for the camera again, and this one will be for the objects. Tab again to go back. So you can now select each one individually and give them, you can pretty much give them the same material. So with everything selected and selecting this first emoji, I'm just going to click new, and I'm going to add a new material, and I'm going to press Ctrl T to add an image texture with a mapping node with UVs. Then go to open wherever you have the image again under, so it's our downloads, and I'm just going to click open image. So yeah, so you can see automatically that this is already having the material. So what I'll do is, see in your 3D viewport, press Ctrl L and then just link materials. So all of them pretty much have this material, but the UVs that they will be on will be different. So selecting all again, press A and just press U, project from view. All right, so that's what we have. So I'm just going to come to the UV editor here, and I'm just going to press L to select this first one. I'm just going to bring it here. So you can select any emoji that you like out of all of this and just scale till it matches. But make sure that the black lines are not, it's not touching the black lines though. So let me use like GY to just move it along the Y, something like this. So that's for the first one, and you're going to select the second one as well. So press L, press G to bring it to wherever you want. Select perhaps this one, and I'm just going to press GY again to bring it towards the middle, and I'm just going to scale like so. So it's just repetition again. Select this one, press L, and just bring it here. The last but not the least, select this, press L, and just bring somewhere around here. So make sure that it matches with this one right here. All right, so basically that's it. So if I tab out now, you can now see that they all have the object. So let me just shift this in so that we can see. So you can now see that this is now selected and they all have the UVs. So you can as well add more details. As you can see, the image I generated has up to like um 15 different images also. So you can just keep duplicating these emojis and then adding them under these respective images that I have here. But for the sake of time, I will not continue. So pretty much that's it. Now the good thing about this is, since we have the all the emojis added to one material, any change that we make to one will affect the rest. So I'm going to make the roughness 1. Then under subsurface, we want the weight to also be 1. So we want it to absorb some of the light, something like that, which is cool. Now let me close this window because we don't need it again. Okay, so for the light here, I don't really like how it's illuminating. It's not much. So one thing you can do is probably increase the strength of the light or bring it closer. So I'm just going to bring it closer, maybe somewhere around here. So if you look through the camera now, we have this like so, or bring it down. Then using Shift T again, you can just use your cursor to move it along like this. And then for the look, under color management, you can use Punchy and then AGX. Let's move to the cursor now. What we'll do is we're just going to use a cursor logo on it. So to create a new material, and I'm going to name this cursor. Then what we'll do again is I'm going to press Ctrl T to apply an image texture node with mapping on it. And I'm going to click open. And what you can do is you can just go online and find various logo symbols, PNG. What I did is I came to Vectizi and I saw this logo I really like. So you can download it, and when you download that, you can come to wherever you have it downloaded. I have it in my downloads here, and I'm just going to select and I'm going to click open image. Now you don't want the base color to be applied, but you can use the base color to. What I actually want is the alpha. So I'm going to connect the color to the alpha. And by the time you do that, this is what you have, which is cool. Then under emission, I'm going to give it a strength of 1 or probably 2, just to make it shine more. For the light, I think I'm going to increase the size like this, and then for I'm going to increase the power as well, because it's a little bit still dark compared to what I want. So maybe like 150. I think that's pretty much okay. With the cursor selected now, we can just give it simple movement of animation. To animate this is very simple. Make sure that auto keying is enabled, and just press I with the cursor selected to have a keyframe. Then come to the end keyframe 250, but that's too much. So let me just use 150. I mean, it depends on you totally. I'm rendering this at 30 frames per second. Then I'm just going to press home. Then come to the last frame as well. Press I. Now with auto keying enabled, come back to your first frame and then press space bar, and then just begin to move your mouse around like this anyhow you want. You can see it's lagging at the moment because of the viewport shading, but don't matter. So just keep moving it randomly, like how you move a normal mouse. Make sure that once you're about to reach the last frame, just stop. So I'm going to stop somewhere around here. Let me just drag this up. So you can see that we have keyframe here, and then we have some empty keyframes in between. So what we can do is press A to select all the keyframe in this timeline, and then just press Shift Alt O. Press Control Tab to go to our graph editor now. Right, so at this point we might need to save space. So let me drag this up. Press N, then Home. Press normalize so that you can see everything that we have. So if we play this animation now, I'm just going to come to under key and then smooth. I'm just going to select smooth Gaussian and then just increase the scale to have something like this. Just drag it till you reach 100. If you press Alt O now and keep repeating it, you will see that the keyframes will become much more smoother. So you don't want it to be too smooth because we want like some noise. I think something like this is okay. The one I will do next is if I press Shift E, I want to make the animation cyclic so that it looks like it loops. So by the time you play, you can just see the keyframes moving and everything. Let's do like a test render here to do like a slight composite. So if I press F12 with this at base level, this still look nice and awesome. Rendering with EV. Come to composite tab here, enable use nodes. We're just going to add some slight nodes that will make this pop out more. So the first one is press Shift A and add a denoise. Honestly, I don't know what this do, but every Blender tutorial I watch, they seem to add it because it doesn't really have much of a difference. If you know the difference it makes, you can just let us know in the comment section. Then I'm going to press Shift A. I'm just going to add a filter glare bloom node, and I'm going to increase the strength, reduce the strength rather to something like 0.1. Because we have an emission in the scene, just going to add a subtle difference, something like that. The next thing I'll do is I'm going to add a hue, saturation, and value. Not this one. Let's try again. Saturation. Is it mixed color? Yeah, it's this one actually. So use saturation and value, and I'm going to increase the saturation to something like 1.2, and I'm going to click enter. Right, so you can see the saturation is a bit too much, so maybe like 1.05. Just something very tiny and subtle. We don't want it too much. Okay, I think that is okay now. Then I'm going to add a brightness and contrast. Maybe we can increase the contrast a bit. I'm going to use something like 0.5. Just little adjustments. And last but not the least, we'll be adding a color balance. All right, so that's just a slight composite and we're basically done. I'm rendering this using AV. So let me just go back to my layout, and that will be all for this tutorial, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. If there's any tutorial you'd like me to teach, let me know in the comment section. See you. Bye.